Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Nityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayadmudirahi Nashtaprahisha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, Text number 1. Srishuka Uvacha Khatvangat Dirgabahuscha Ragu Tasmat Prithushva Ajatato Maharaja Tasmat Dasharato Abhavat Sisuka Uvacha Khatvangat Dirgabahuscha Ragu Tasmat Prithushva Ajatata Maharaja Tasmat Dasarato Abhava. Sri Shuka Uvacha, Sri Shukdev Goswami said, Khatvangat, from Maharaj Khatvanga, Dirgabahu, the son named Dirgabahu, Cha and Raghu Tasmat, from him Raghu was born, Prithu saintly and celebrated, Ajaha, the son named Aja, Tataha, from him, Maharaja, the great king called Maharaj Dashrath, Tasmat, from Aja, Dashratha, by the name Dashrath, Abhavat, was born. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The son of Maharaj Khatwanga was Dirgabahu, and his son was a celebrated Maharaj Jagu. From Maharaj Jagu came Aja, and from Aja was born the great personality Maharaj Dashrath. Text 2. Tasyapi Bhagavan Esha Sakshat Brahmamayo Hari Amshena Chaturdagat Putratvam Pratita Surai Rama Lakshmana Bharata Shatrugna Iti Samjaya Samnaya. Tasya of him, Maharaj Dashrath, Api, also, Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ate all of them, Saksat, directly. Brahma Maya, the Supreme Parabrahman, the Absolute Truth. Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Amsham Senam, by an expansion of a plenary portion. Chaturdaha, by fourfold expansions. Agat, accepted. Putratvam, sonhood. Pratita, being prayed for. Surai, by the demigods. Rama, Lord Ramachandra. Lakshmana, Lord Lakshmana. Bharata, Lord Bharat. Shatrugna, and Lord Shatrughan. Iti, thus. Shamnaya, by different names. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared with his expansion and expansions of the expansion. Directly appeared with his expansion and expansion of the expansions. Their holy names were Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughan. These celebrated incarnations thus appeared in four forms as the sons of Maharaj Dashrath. Lord Ramachandra and his brothers Lakshmana, Bharat, and Shatrughan are all Vishnu Tattvas, not Jiva Tattva. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands into many, many forms. Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Anantarupam from Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter, 33rd verse. Although they are one and the same, Vishnu Tattva has many forms and incarnations, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, 5th chapter, 39th verse. Ramadi Murtisu Kalaniyaminatistan. The Lord is situated in many forms, such as Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughan, and these forms may exist in any part of His creation. All these forms exist permanently, eternally, as individual personalities of Godhead, and they resemble many candles, all equally powerful. Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughan, who being Vishnu Tattva are all equally powerful, became the sons of Maharaj Dashrath in response to prayers by the demigods. Om Agnana Timinandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurmitan Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sijuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paryana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanto Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Mancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhayo Vaishnavebhayo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Yeah. So, in the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the appearance of Lord Ramachandra is nicely mentioned. And we see that it's briefly mentioned. We have this Itihas, Ramayana, written by Valmiki Ramayana, written by Valmiki, which describes in detail about the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. It describes in quite detail. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukdev Goswami touches about Lord Ramachandra, you know, inquired by Parikshit Maharaj to explain the different incarnations of the Supreme Lord and the purpose of their appearance. He describes about this important personality of the Supreme Lord, Lord Ramachandra, in the ninth canto. The appearance of Lord Ramachandra, which we will be observing soon on Wednesday as Ramnami. So Lord Ramachandra appeared in the Surya dynasty, Surya Vansi, right? The sun dynasty. We have the sun god, right? He was one. Then Manu, and then in that same dynasty, we see King Khatwanga appeared, right? And then the previous words we saw how from King Khatwanga uh, we had um, Dirgabahu, and then from Dirgabahu was a celebrated Maharaj Raghu, where it also started being called as Raghu dynasty, right? And from Maharaj Raghu came Aja, from Aja came the great personality, Maharaj Dashrath, right? So we have Maharaj Dashrath, right? Um, and this dynasty is also called the Iswaku dynasty, right? Raghu dynasty, Iswaku dynasty, the Sun dynasty, uh, because Iswaku no, also appeared in that lineage, where we see Imam Vivasvatan Yogan, right? That means it's mentioned the sun god giving it to uh, the sun god passing on the instruction to uh, Manu and then Iswaku. So it's also called as the Iswaku dynasty, right? Um, so, and that's why he's called the Iswaku Kuladhana, right? Kula means dynasty and Dhana means property, right? Um, it's valuable jewel of Iswaku dynasty. So Dashrath, Maharaj Dashrath, was a very powerful king. And he was known as Dashrath because he could fight in 10 directions at one time. Very valiant warrior. He could fight in 10 directions in one time. Such a valiant warrior that he was emperor and was a great fighter, and many times even the demigods would summon um, and take help from Dashrath Maharaj to fight against the demons, right? And no, he had all the arts of fighting against all this trickery, the mystic powers of the demons. And no, he had this ratha, his chariot. No. So his chariot would also appear as if there are 10 kings appearing on 10 chariots fighting simultaneously. Though he would be standing on one chariot, he would maneuver the chariot so expertly and so speedily as if it would appear as 10 kings appearing on the chariot at one time. And valiantly, so that's why it's called as Dasarat. Dasarat means 10 and Ratha means chariot. Right? So that's how he's famous for his fight. And he ruled for thousands of years. But he was in anxiety, despondent, right? that I have ruled for thousands of years, and now I'm about to retire, and still I don't have a child. He had married his uh, first wife, Kaushalya, right? Ooh. uh, and in desire of having a child, um, especially the son, who could carry this Raghu dynasty or Iswaku dynasty, Sun dynasty forward. So he gave birth to only a daughter, and that daughter's name was Santi. Right? No son was born from Kaushalya, and then we see that he gets married to Sumitra. With expectation that okay, now I'll get a son from Sumitra. And in case of Sumitra, uh, she did not give birth to any child, neither a daughter nor a son. And then the youngest wife was Kaikai, right? Where he goes to the kingdom of Kaikeya, where the king's name was also Kaikeya, right? And he proposes to marry the daughter of the king, Kaikai. And at that time itself, knowing that he had two other wives, Kaushalya and Sumitra, uh, who at that time didn't have a son, but no one who knows in future they may have a son. So King Kekea, and we see how later on this pans out, makes a deal with Maradashra that only in one condition that I will give my daughter as in marriage to you is uh, you have to promise that the son born from Kaikai will become the king of Ayodhya. Right. And that deal is only few people knew about it. Sumantra, the secretary of Dashrath, uh, Dashrath Maharaj and Mother Kaikai knew about it. But then we see that even from Kaikai, his son is not born. So then the anxiety of Maharaj Dashrath grew many folds that, oh, I'm here now, about to have come to age where I'm about to retire and pass on my kingdom uh, to my son. And I don't have a son. So he approaches uh, his school guru, no, Vasishtha Muni, about what he should do. So Vasishtha Muni, no, um, so at that time he was about to perform a Ashwamedha Yagya, right? And Vasishtha Muni kind of said, okay, from performance of Ashwamedha Yagya, probably you'll get. No, he desires to perform Ashwamedha Yagya. Ashwamedha Yagya is performed where he's such a powerful king that kings of all the other kingdom, uh, they, a horse is sent. So, and the horse has a special qualities also, and he is sent with all decoration and with a proclamation that whoever ties his horse, right, would have to fight against the army of Dasharat Maharaj, or will have to otherwise take shelter of Dasharat Maharaj and uh, provide tax to Dasharat Maharaj.
The Krishna Guruji, the screen is frozen, seems like. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Madhupati Guruji.
His internet is off or what?
Let me.
He got dropped off, so probably he'll rejoin.
Yeah, probably.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Frozen and then. Okay.
Oh, let's see what's happening here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Vasishtha Muni mentions that even before your marriage, Sanat Kumar, the four Kumar, Sanat Kumar, had predicted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear as your son. Right? The Supreme Personality of Godhead would appear as your son. So you should perform a uh, Putra Kamyasti Yagya. Right? You should perform Putra Kamyasti Yagya. And the person, the priest performing the Putra Kamyasti Yagya, should not be an ordinary priest. Right? Um, that priest, throughout his life, would not have known about a woman, right? Brahmachari, throughout his life, till his marriage, would not have known about a woman. Right? And he's very powerful priest. And he can perform this Putra Kamyasti Yagya, and from that, the Yagya Purusha would give this kheer, sweet rice, right, to the queen for the appearance of the Lord. And where to find somebody who has never known about a woman or seen a woman before marriage? At least he would have seen his mother. Right. And Vasishtha Muni, um, he knew about a priest, and that's where Rishya Shringa is invited to perform the yagya. Right. Now, Rishya Shringa is a very powerful priest. Rishya Shringa, the name itself means Shringa, and Risha means deer. So he's in the form of a sage, human sage with a deer horns. Right. The deer horns. That's Rishya Shringa priest. So we see that long ago, Kashyapa Muni, right, produced a son just by meditating on the sunlight. Meditating on the sunlight. Kashyapa Muni is one of the progenitor, right? So he produced a son just by meditating on sunlight. And that son was called Vibondaka. And he was not involved with anything, he was just performing severe austerities. No, in some province near Madhya Pradesh, was severely performing austerities. This Vibondaka, son of Kashyapa Muni, who had appeared just from meditation on sunlight. And those who perform severe austerities and yagya and all, at times Lord Indra, he feels threatened. Right, he feels threatened. So he, went to Lord Brahma, Brahmaloka, and there now a denizen of Brahmaloka, Harsha is sent. Where not, they are not like the denizens of Indaloka or Apsaras, where they must dance and no one's more involved in sense gratification. There, mostly, Satyaloka, they will situate people back to God consciousness. So Harsha is sent, and to this Vibondaka sage, right? And somehow, no, she comes to Vibondaka when he's coming from the Ganges and going to his ashram, and she sits there and chants mantras, right? So just by hearing those mantras, Vibondaka becomes so attracted because it was chanted so clearly, because she's coming from Satyaloka. Then, but when he sees her, immediately he's stunned. And she mentions, only for the prayer of getting a son from you, I have chanted these mantras. And these mantras should not go in vain. It's coming from Brahma. But I don't want a child from anybody else but from you. Right. So Vibondaka said, oh, why me? I can request my father, Kashyapa Muni, or Lord Brahma. No, me. But no one's Harsha. Say no. And that's how then he kind of gives his Shukla semen to Harsha, but then she didn't want to. It was such a from powerful sage. She gives it to the deer, right? And from the deer, a child is conceived immediately overnight, and that child is Rishya Shringa. And the deer then comes to Vibondaka's ashram, and there Rishya Shringa is brought up, but he has never known about a woman, and is brought up by his father. to perform austerities, to perform yagyas, to perform, to study Shastra, and was nicely trained up brahmachari, writing the Gurukul of his father. So that is Rishi Ashringa sage. And then we see how Rishi Ashringa was then when one time by the arrangement of the demigods, Vibhundaka is laid away from the ashram, and there, the denizens of heaven, in disguise of sages, they come, and Rishi Ashringa is brought to the Angadesh, where Maharaj Ramapad, who is a friend of Dasharat Maharaj, right? He's a friend of Dasharat Maharaj, and he had adopted the daughter of Dasharat Maharaj, Santi. And Rishi Ashringa is offered the kingdom of Angadesh, that you accept my daughter in marriage and you become the king of Angadesh. And that's how Rishi Ashringa and Santi, Dasharat Maharaj's daughter, is married. And then that sage is brought by Vasishtha Muni when Santi had considered a child, but there was about to be born, and there were like 20 days left. And Rishi Ashringa said, "Oh, I'll perform this yagya, Putra Kamyasti yagya, within those days for Dasharat Maharaj, under the plea of Dasharat Maharaj and Vasishtha Muni." And then he performs this yagya, and from that yagya, the yagya purusha comes, and such a tall form of yagya purusha, and he gives this sweet rice in a big jar. And Dasharat Maharaj said, "Oh, how am I going to feed this big jar of sweetened rice to the queen?" So then Rishi Ashringa requests Yagya Purusha to reduce it. And that's how we see Ansha form of the Supreme Lord is carried in through that Yagya by the media of Yagya Purusha in the form of sweet rice. And that is fed to, half of the portion is fed to Kaushalya, other half is fed to Kaikai, and both in turn, they take the half and give some portion to Sumitra. And from that, after due course of time, of 4 seasons are passed. Let's mention in the Vishnu Purana, the 4 seasons passes, and then Kaushalya gives birth to Lord Ramachandra, right? Kaikai gives birth to Bharat, and Sumitra gives birth to Lakshman and Shatrughan. Lakshman had a very close affinity towards Lord Ramachandra, and Shatrughan had very close affinity towards Bharat Maharaj. And we see, they all are Vishnu Tattvas, as we read from the Srimad Bhagavatam words, that they are not ordinary personalities. Like Ramadi Murti Sukalanya Mena Tishta Nana Avatara Krishna Swam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. Right. Ram Adi. So they are expansions of the expansion of the Supreme Lord. And they are Vishnu Tattvas. Like we see Lord Krishna, his first expansion is Balaram, right? And from Balaram comes the first, the Chaturvya expansion of Sankarshan, Vasudev, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And from that Mool Sankarshan comes Narayan, and from that Narayan comes the second Chaturvya expansion of Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And those four appear as Lord Ramachandra, as Vasudev, uh, Lord Lakshman as Sankarshan, um, Pradyumna as Bharat, and uh, Aniruddha as Satrughan. Right, Aniruddha as Satrughan. So in that way, we see no, they are directly Vishnu Tattvas, they're directly the expansion. Why do they appear? They appear as we hear from Brahma Samhita for the various pastimes, Lilaitena, right? Uh, uh, for various Leelas, they appear. The Lord appears to perform various Leelas. In Treta Yuga, Lord Ramachandra appears in Treta Yuga. In this Treta Yuga, he appears in a greenish form, right? So we see that's why he's also called the supreme enjoyer, Rama, supreme enjoyer, the reservoir of all pleasure. Right? That's Lord Ramachandra, right? And Lakshmana, we see, is like a shadow. Wherever Lord Ramachandra goes, Lakshmana follows. There's such close affinity. And then they grow up under uh, the training of Vasishtha Muni, giving all pleasures to Maharaj Dashrath and the queens, because they didn't have a child for so many years. So they give pleasure by various lila. The other purpose we see that now this demon Ravan was very powerful and had performed, had conquered the demigods. He had conquered the demigods. He had performed austerities and asked for the boon um, from Lord Brahma. And in the boon, he asked for that, oh, I should be invisible in battle, not defeated by any demigods. But he did not, in that boon, ask for that, no, not defeated by any human, because he felt like, oh, human, they're insignificant. I don't want to waste my boon on humans. They are insignificant. They won't be even be able to conquer me. So Lord Brahma had this was also in that yajna which was being performed, where he is requesting the Supreme Lord to appear. That this demon Ravana is creating havoc throughout. So the Supreme Lord kind of appears in the heart of Lord Brahma, giving him assurance that soon he will appear and where Shirodakshai Vishnu. No? Then he appears as this uh, Lord Ramachandra's Lakshmana, Bharata, and Saturna. Parit, and we hear from Bhagavad Gita that one purpose why the Lord appears is Paritana sadhunam vinasya dushkritam. Vinasya dushkritam. Right. Mainly to give pleasure to his devotees, Paritana sadhunam. Vinasya dushkritam. He could even do remotely, like he's doing now, remotely now with Corona. Not only dushkritam, so many other Ramans also being annihilated. Right. So, but to give pleasure to the devotees. And we see in Lord Ramachandra's pastimes, he serves as an ideal son, he serves as an ideal husband, he serves as the ideal father to love and course, ideal brother to all the three sons, brothers, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna. Right. The ideal king that even now we talk about Ram Rajya. Right. Even now we talk about Ram Rajya. Narasimha was mentioning. It's popular throughout the world. Right. In Indonesia, in Thailand, there are streets called Rama 1, Rama 2, Rama 3. Right. In Thailand. In Africa, in the various places. Lord Ramachandra is glorified. In Philippines, I was hearing, where the history books they learned about Lord Ramachandra. So it's glorified. His pastimes are glorified because they are not ordinary. The person of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to give pleasure to his devotees, Paritana Sadhana. And then Vinashacha Duskutam. Right? He's so powerful. Even when he was studying in the Gurukul of Vasishtha Muni, Vasishtha Muni had made one condition that, normally what happens is when the children are studying, the king can also go and watch their progress, how their sons are being trained up. But Vasishtha Muni made a condition that when I'm teaching, he won't allow the Satmanas to watch. Right. And later on, we find that condition was put so that when he teaches Lord Ramachandra, first of all, he will circumambulate all the four of them. Right? He will circumambulate all the four of them, knowing that they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Knowing that who am I to impart them knowledge. Right. And but the Lord takes the role that it's like the Guru. It's important to learn from a Guru. Right. Just like we see in when Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Diksha, at night he appeared to Ishwarapuri. He gave the mantra in his ear, which he can give to him and initiate him. Right. That's the pastime of the Supreme Lord. to glorify his devotee, even as a spiritual master, he takes a humbler position. He takes a humbler position. So, and then they started growing up, and we see one day Vishwamitra Muni comes, right? And what is he doing? He comes, he's such a powerful sage, also known for his, that if he gets displeased, it's so powerful, he could give curse. So Dasarat Maharaj personally receives him and worships the Brahmana. Vishwamitra Muni washes his feet. And then we see Vishwamitra Muni is kind of describing that, how whenever he's performing yagya, there are these demons who are creating nuisance, especially these Marichi and Subahu. They're creating nuisance. They're passing water on the sacred holy Yagakund, and harassing the priest. And they were cannibals. They would almost eat the sage. The cannibals. So Vishwamitra Muni and so Dasarat Maharaj could realize that, said these are not ordinary demons. Doesn't seem to be ordinary demons. Otherwise Vishwamitra Muni would have stopped them himself. And Dasarat Maharaj is asking, what can he do? He can himself come there. He said, no, you can send your Prince Rama. And Dasarat Maharaj was shocked, stunned. Rama? Just hearing that, he fainted. That my son, is just growing up. No, okay, he learned the art of fighting from Vasishtha Muni, but he has actually not gone to any battle. And here he is going to go and fight the demons. And but somehow Vishwamitra Muni says, okay, if you cannot fulfill your promise of giving me whatever I want, then it's okay. But I just want Mama to go with me. And then Dasarat Maharaj agrees and sends Lord Ramachandra, and then wherever Lord Ramachandra goes, Lakshman follows. So both Rama and Lakshmana goes to the ashram of Vishwamitra Muni. And there it was, Vishwamitra Muni started performing the yagya. As soon as he started performing the yagya, cloud, he sees these two demons, and Vishwamitra signals to Lord Ramachandra. They're coming. And Lord Ramachandra signals to Lakshmana. Lakshmana just sends one arrow. Right. And from that arrow, then thousands of arrows form a disc. Right. Where they could not throw anything on the Yagya Kund. And Subahu then tries to attack, but is um, just this arrow, one of the arrow hits him, and he goes miles away and dies. And Marichi comes attacking, and Lord Ramachandra just takes a grass. Forget about that. He just takes a grass and hurls a blade of grass at him. And he goes all the way. The speed of that grass, he hits him so hard that he flies all, gets, no, with that velocity of that grass, he gets thrown all the way to Lanka, outside India. No. And that was the prowess of Lord Ramachandra. Right? And later on we see uh, uh, Marichi, when he's approached by Ravana, he said, "Oh, we're talking about Lord Ramachandra. My sincere advice is you should take shelter of him and return his wife back, Mother Sita. I know his prowess. He is not an ordinary mortal. I was hit by just a blade of grass and I was thrown, thousands of miles away. So take shelter." And we see Ravana does not fight. No. Either you take, or you help me, otherwise be ready to get killed by me. So if I have to get killed by this demon, better it is for me to get killed by Lord Ramachandra. Right. So that's the pastime of the Supreme Lord. Right. Are there any questions so far? Because I think from the hermitage of Vishwamitra Muni, and after killing of these two demons and other demons, the next step is Vishwamitra Muni then takes them to Janakpuri, which I believe other speakers might be covering. Semeshwar Prabhu?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
Yes, we can see behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have some discussion.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Wonderful pastime. Prabhuji, I was cooking, so I missed that part. Like you were mentioning about Kaikai's son would be the king. So can you please repeat? Because I don't know about that pastime.
Yeah, well, there was an arrangement made, right, where between Kaikai, Kaikeya, right, and Dasat Maharaj as a marriage negotiation, right, that only Kaikai will get a child, and no, so Dasat Maharaj says, "Oh, means so far, they are not. My other queens have not given birth to a child, so don't worry about it. Only Kaikai will have a child." But King Kaikeya wanted to take assurance. So that arrangement, like marriage negotiation, is called Kanya Sulka. Right. Like a wheel of a dowry or something. So Dasharat Maharaj wrote the Kanya Sulka. In that he said, "Whoever is born to Kaikai will enjoy my kingdom, even if my other wives produce children later." And this Kanya Sulka was known to three people. Vasishtha knew it, Dasarat Maharaj knew it, and Kaikai knew it. It was kept a secret because otherwise they would blame Dasarat Maharaj. Is that all right?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Very nice pastimes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Thank you, Mother. Any other discussion or no sharing of realizations?
Yeah, I just would like to clarify. I heard this actually when Lord Ram showed the grass to Maricha.
Yeah.
Maricha went to thousands of miles away and
Yeah.
fell down into the place called Mauritius. That's where the Mauritius, the name Mauritius, comes from Maricha. That's I don't know. Just want to clarify that.
Okay. Thousands of miles away, yeah. Good. Mauritius.
Yeah, Mauritius came from Marich.
Mm-hmm.
The word name itself come from Marich. That's what is. I was reading, some time ago.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Yeah. And there could be various versions, just like we see this Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughan, as we heard about the expansion, the second Chaturvyuha expansions appeared as Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughan. And it's also mentioned that, yes, Vasudeva appeared as Lord Ramachandra, Sankarshan appeared as Lord Lakshman, but then Sudarshan appeared as Bharat. Right. Sudarshan appeared as Bharat, and Panchajanya Conch appeared as Shatrughan. So there could be different ways.
Yeah. I heard the same. Shanga Chakra and Gada. Sorry, Shanga Chakra, Lakshman, yeah. Shanga,
yeah. Lakshman as Sankarshan and Ram as Bharat.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam or
Prabhuji,
then when Mataji just asked Satyabhama Mataji, I had the same a connected question when I was listening to you earlier.
Yeah.
So when that promise was already given, then why was Lord Rama being, being given the throne then?
Yeah, so now you can understand that this happened way back before he got married to Kaikai. Right?
Right.
This promise was given Kanya Sulka that it was made way back. Later on, there was also a war after he got married, where Kaikai served Dasarat Maharaj.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that one. That I know. Yeah.
Right. So
but the promise was already made. So how.
Yeah. So those were all pre-arranged. That's what I can see. That they are all pre-arranged. Just like the other day, Amog Leela Prabhu was mentioning. Right. Kaikai, is revered. She loved Lord Ramachandra the most. Right. But somehow she takes that negative role for fulfilling the desire of the Supreme Lord. For fulfilling the desire of the Supreme Lord. Where the Supreme Lord's purpose was not, okay, now I become the king of Ayodhya and marry with you. But also spend some time with Mother Sita in the forest. And then take care of the purpose which the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, had requested and offered prayers for him to appear. The killing of Ravana, which is otherwise impossible for anybody.
Prabhuji, one more question I have.
Yeah.
We always hear in scriptures, okay, this sage, gave curse this one. There's like so much cursing by sages, when on the other hand, we're always speaking of tolerance. And then, I understand that these curses are boons, like as God's arrangement, and they turn, to be like boons, like it's, for in some most cases.
Yeah.
But why is there like, like it just gives a very, like they're doing so much stuff and everything, and they have like, I feel like they have zero tolerance, because they're cursing all the time and they get angry, like in a split of a second, they're so angry, like like you said, Vishwamitra, like, and then, so, what is like, I know my understanding is because then it turns like a boon, because if he had not gone to the jungle or the forest, then the demons wouldn't have been killed. And, so it turns as an opportunity to perform, like what he came down on earth for. But is there any other reason?
No, it's just as you mentioned so nicely that that the curse of the sage is always for the blessings of the recipient of the curse. Just like we see Narad Muni cursing the sons of Kuvera, Nala, Kuvera, and Manigriva, that when I passed, they were enjoying with all these denizens in the water, and seeing me, all the women fled, but they were so intoxicated, the sons of Nalakuvera, sons of Kuvera, that they did not even feel ashamed that they should be like in compromising position in front of a sage. So he curses them to become trees. Right? He curses them to become trees, Yamalarjuna trees. But behind that curse is also a blessing that they will be delivered by. First of all, they will be fortunate to watch the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, Purna Purushottam Krishna. And then they'll be delivered personally by him. So, behind the curse of a sage is also a boon. Now, some personalities are there where they would, they're just like Parshuram. We hear about Parshuram. Such a powerful, himself the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, Shaktivesh Avatar. But he becomes so angry at all the Kshatriyas of what they are doing. They're supposed to be Kshatriyas, and they are unnecessarily increasing military powers and using it for the wrong purposes, that he killed so many Kshatriyas. Right. With his axe, Parsha. Right. With his axe. So that's also Durvasha Muni, yeah. But if they are served nicely, with tolerance, and that's how we are taught. Right? Become humbler than a blade of grass, become more tolerant than a tree. They can bestow the causeless blessings. As Srimati Radhani got blessed by Durvasa Muni, that she will be able to cook each Nitya Navina. Every item she will cook will be different than the previous item. Right. Is that all right?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you, Haribol.
Any other discussion?
If Namandabu, you're on mute. I think he was trying to speak.
Yeah, I was just thinking and then meditating, reflecting. Dasarath Maharaj, we see, I think, what kind of lessons. I think when I look at general itself, I look at in a reflective way to see what instructions we can learn. And Ramayana is all about that. So I was just thinking about that. Dasarath, Prabhupada is saying in one of the, I think in the beginning, Canto 1, that he used to control by the sounds, subtle signs when he's fighting, not gross. Today's world, they're not using the subtle sounds. So, and I was looking at it, how in Kali Yuga, neither we know that's art of science in fighting, neither we are able to control. We are acting mostly on the gross body. So completely the gross and even the subtle, forget about the subtle, we are acting on the gross body. So from Dasarath Maharaj also we can see that it's a karma is very complicated and very intricate. Nobody can surpass, nobody can understand the Lord's plan. Achincha Kalure Bhava. It's very inconceivable. So even he had to go through, he had to suffer, he had to face the consequences as the Shravan Kumar or whoever I forget.
Shravan Kumar.
He throws arrow, and then the same thing, he has to face the consequence, even though Dasarath Maharaj is a great king. So it's very intricate, as Mataji is asking, says, so I think these are the lessons. Yeah.
King Pandu is similarly cursed.
Yeah. Right. Don't see the external, don't be expect something has to happen in the way we think or way we heard, but it's we have to be dependent on the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord's plan. Even if it is difficult, we have to accept it. And like Parikshit Maharaj, like Dasarath Maharaj, they all went through it. I think, yeah.
The Lord arranged it in such a way, that how each and every,
character
arrangement where you kind of, it's mind-boggling sometimes. Just like even we see about Jarasanga and Kalyavan gathering their forces together and attacking Mathura. And Krishna decides to run away.
Yeah.
He got some message from Mother Rukmini that, and immediately he flees the battlefield. And then he goes into a cave and he knows that there's Muchukunda will be taking rest. And Kalyavan mistakes Muchukunda as Krishna, and he wakes him up. And as soon as Muchukunda sees Kalyavan, he is annihilated. Otherwise, he's such a powerful demon.
Yeah.
So there was all those various kinds of arrangements which are done by the Supreme Lord. That's known as different pastimes.
Yeah.
That is, different agents, would be able to handle all these demons.
Yeah. Sometimes it's for glorifying devotees. Whether it's based on Pitama, it's Hanuman, Ramayana also. So many are acted as instruments to Actually, Lord wants to glorify them.
Yeah, another version, another way that the curse of a sadhu look at it. Sadhu is not getting angry in one sense. Sadhu is seeing the fault, and sadhu is trying to correct that fault. So that's beneficial. Even whoever receives that, as is mentioned, that sadhu sangha sarva shastra, labhamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi. A little bit of sadhu sangha association, it's in any way is beneficial. So sometimes we feel that, oh, this sage is so anger. It's not really anger actually. It is the way that they correct, so that sometimes we say that we need to give some very strong force in order to make it straight, like the iron rod. If we need to make that flat or straight, that iron rod has to go through the fire, then it has to be really red hot, and then has to hammer and then beat on it, then it's become like that. So sometimes it's mentioned that, so that the strong way, so that it get corrected. So that's one way to look at it. Even in the case of any curse of, it's really correcting them, and to also the association, the power of sadhus can change their karma as well. In the case of the sons of Kuvera, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, it's very difficult to get a liberation. And just by the mercy of the sadhu, Sri Narada Dev, they got liberated. And by the touch, by the mercy, and they could see the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly in eyes to eyes. So that curse of Narada Dev has actually changed the complete karma of the living entity, that jiva. And but in a time span, otherwise it's very difficult. So in either case, even in the case of sometimes Durvasa Muni is actually very known to become so anger. When you look at it in another way, it's always helpful actually for the devotees to attain the Kukuli. So also the four Kumaras cursed the Jaya Vijayas, the keeper. So that's all arrangements of the Lord. That's another way to look at it. There are situations the Lord arranges. There are karmas which sadhus can take away, and sadhus are always, they're always looking for the good for the people. So the curse is not really that what we kind of we get the anger and we feel that they should completely destroy, and with the anger. But their anger is not like that. They completely revive from the by the mercy of the Lord, and they could also get the mercy of the Lord so quickly. So like that.
Yeah.
In Krishna Lila, we see various demons are killed.
Yeah.
And how that place is glorified. Kesi Ghat, where the Kesi demon was killed. No, means we take bath in Jamuna at Kesi Ghat. Glorify that place. Arista Sur becomes responsible for Radha Kund and Shyam Kund to appear by the killing of Aristasur. Right. So, yeah.
And Pudana became the mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Each pastime, each instance, we have to take a look. I think, Narada Munis, and some of them are pure devotees. They are in Visuddha Sattva, Lord Shiva. So they are in a different category, but others are in a different category. So there are many things are in play.
Mm-hmm.
So especially if you look at the Daksha Prajapatis, Bhrigu and Nandi cursing each other, which is forming the Kali Yuga, how Kali Yuga is going to be. And that's a whole lot of instructions we can see from Daksha's case, and Bhrigu and Nandi, all of these characters cursing and counter curse. But Lord Shiva didn't do anything. He didn't say anything, he just left it. So that is, he's in a Visuddha Sattva, but rest of the characters are in a different mold. But at the same time, it is also forming how Kali Yuga is going to be, as by how Brahmanas will behave, how they take, has become Brahma Bandhus. So Prabhupada explains so nicely in Canto 4, all this, those 5 or 6 chapters of Daksha Prajapati.
There is a beautiful description of Agastya Muni cursing Indradimna Maharaj. So we may see it as a curse, but Agastya Muni is a great sage. We see it in Agastya Muni, how Agastya Muni could curse Indradimna Maharaj in a deep meditation. But the meditation, the devotion of the Indradimna Maharaj, Agastya Muni could see it, and Agastya Muni was fastening that how to get back to Lord Kikali. Agastya Muni said, okay, be an elephant. And Agastya Muni know that what is going to happen. And then Indradimna Maharaj became the elephant. That is the what is the name? Gajendra. And he became Gajendra. And then Lord came. And then the other one, the crocodile was an Indra named Hoho, something like that. That was also a curse. Both were delivered just by the touch. And immediately, I mean, they didn't want to go to millions of lifetimes of, the life after life after life. But just by, this, we may see it as like this, but it's a reality. They know what is going to happen. So like a father punishes his children and in anger. Father intention is that the child should become so, nice and wonderful. And father know, if I do this way, if I punish this way, he'll become nice in this way. He will get that. Exactly likes that. The devotees, sadhus, they always look for the good for the, everything. Yeah.
Prabhu, my question to follow up on Sachimata. Haribol, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Good. To follow up on Sachimata's question, and then another question which Kalandi Mata actually in one of her classes had mentioned. So to Sachimata's question, you all gave examples of sadhus cursing is actually a boon. The question is, are sadhus considered as Vaishnavas? Because if we understand, there is the Karma Kanda process, there is the Jnana process and Dhyana process, and then there's the Bhakti process. So, I'm looking at what Gaur Govind Maharaj said, sadhu is a person who has surrendered to Krishna with love. Someone who has surrendered to Krishna with love, he is a sadhu. So I can understand the word sadhu could be used in different connotations, because what examples you all have given would make sense if he's a Vaishnav as a Paradukha Dukhi, he would be able to then, his anger is utilized in the benefit of the person who's receiving the curse. So is Vishwamitra a Vaishnav? Is Agastya Muni a Vaishnav? And then why are they called Munis? Muni is someone who's the dhyana guy, who's not on the bhakti part, but is in that dhyana. So how do we understand this? And the second question is, so Simheshwar Prabhu mentioned that there is Mauritius because of Marichi. And one understanding is that he went and fell into Sri Lanka. And there are many different, like as you said, the expansions of Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughan, there are different expansions. And Kalandi Mataji had explained in her class, Bhagavatam class, that these Leelas are happening eternally. It is not here. It's happening eternally all across the creation. So there could be some self-realized soul who has that vision, is watching the Leela and describing it in a particular way, which is happening somewhere else, which may seem to be a little contradictory to another Leela which happened elsewhere. So the question is, Prabhu, we have the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, from whom we learn all these things, correct? And these are all bona fide. It's not someone is speculating and making up all this. So in some cases, the Shastra is very elaborate and specific. So, for example, Bhagavatam gives a detailed description of how material creation comes into being, very detailed.
Yeah.
Step by step, and then how it gets annihilated step by step. Extremely detailed. And in other cases, it remains very vague and open. And so, what I'm trying to understand is, why is it in some cases it is so detailed? And then in some cases, it is almost as though deliberately left open to interpretation and things like that, which then becomes a very dangerous path for a bhakta. And at the same time, if we just accept it, then it becomes, I don't know if I should use the word blind faith, which Prabhupada discouraged. So how do we put all this together? One is the sadhu definition, and other is the scriptures, so-called apparent contradictions. Detail and being.
Yeah. Now, scriptures in totality means just like you mentioned about Bhagavatam, Amala Puranam, it mentions in quite detail about the process of creation. And other incarnation also it mentions the detail which at that time Sukadeva Goswami felt it's necessary for Parikshit Maharaj to hear. Now that detail could be quite detailed itself, right? I mean, like Lord Ramachandra's pastimes. Otherwise, are quite detailed by itself, which he could not cover just in 7 days. So he just mentions the summary of it. Right. Knowing that other elements, Valmiki Ramayana describes in quite detail. He does not mention each and every of those pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam. For Krishna Lila, he mentions in quite detail in the 10th canto. Yeah, he mentions quite detail. Standings of those pastimes from our acharyas, right? Where Jiva Goswami explains in so much detail in Tattva Sandarbhas, in this Sat Sandarbhas, on various aspects. Rupa Goswami explains it in detail. Sanatana Goswami explains that through Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Rupa Goswami explains that through Laghu Bhagavatamrita. Right. So it's the same aspect of Bhagavatam, then in the form of commentaries and tika is explained in detail by our Goswamis. Right. Now, the pastime of the Lord, Lord Ramachandra appears in each and every, we have one kalpa, which is one day of Lord Brahma. We have 4 yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapa Yuga, and Kali Yuga. He appears in each and every Treta Yuga, Lord Ramachandra. In some Treta Yuga, like in this Treta Yuga, he appears in greenish form. In other Treta Yuga, he appears in reddish form. So there could be some variations in the pastimes in each and every of those yugas. Right. So, the forms could also, so just like we see the Varaha if you go to Mathura, there's this Varaha temple, Sweta Varaha. Varaha is the whitish form, otherwise Sham Namas, blackish form. Namas. The temple itself has two different features of the Supreme Lord. Right. Appearing in various different forms in different ages and having some variation in his pastime to deliver, the devotees of that particular age and to enhance the miscreants of that particular age. Right. So that's one way of saying it. It's not that they are misleading, but they are it's elaborately mentioning in various commentaries, various just on Bhagavad Gita. Such a detail. Srimad Bhagavatam especially, we see so much detail. Each and every I have with me some volumes of Tippanis. Tippanis means commentaries by almost 10 distinguished acharyas. Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Vallabhacharya, Subodhini, Sridhar Swami, the original commentator on Bhagavatam. So, and this Tippanis, these commentaries, what does it do? It brings various aspects of that particular words and of that particular pastime, and it makes it becomes more and more relishable. It becomes more and more relishable. Not the elements we think, oh, these are some apparent contradictions. No, but ultimately it brings more taste. Right. It brings more taste. So that's how we can understand. For the Supreme Lord, anything is possible. Right. Lord Brahma meditates on, Lord Vara appears to the nostrils of Brahma. Right. Anything, it's the Supreme Lord, inconceivable ways he could appear. Now, we talk about the the Kurds, these as far as the devotees, say are the sages like Vishwamitra Muni, and they're Lord Ramachandra as the Supreme Lord himself, is respecting, is serving Vishwamitra Muni. Agastya Muni is being served by the Supreme Lord. Right. To satisfy, to get boons from him, to get more weapons from them, to then ultimately help in fulfilling his mission. Right. And ultimately glorifying them also. So maybe in between, we see Vishwamitra Muni is more worshipper of Lord Shiva. Right. And we see Vishwamitra Muni gets attracted to Menaka, and Srila Prabhupada mentions that while a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, like Haridas Thakur, though being allured by Mayadevi herself, it goes in vain because it's fixed in devotional service of the Supreme Lord. So, to that example, bhakti is glorified as the highest, devotional service is glorified as the highest, and those who are following pure devotional service, everybody is following devotional service. Vishwamitra Muni is also following devotional service, but pure devotional service. Right. Not Jnana Mishra Bhakti or Karma Mishra Bhakti or something. Pure devotional service. They are glorified above others. And there are various gradations now. No, we see this Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the pastime of Narad Muni going to search for the highest recipient of Krishna's mercy. And goes to a Brahmana who then directs him to a king of South India who directs him to Lord Indra. They all do not become popped up. No. Yes. Oh, you are saying? Oh, I don't know. But if you are saying that I am the highest recipient, I may be the highest recipient. No, they are taking a humbler position. Ultimately, facilitating the quest of Narad Muni to find the topmost recipient of the Lord's mercy. So ultimately, we see all of them ultimately acting to lead them, right, like Bhrigu Muni, to search who is the Supreme Lord. And he goes to Lord Brahma, right? And our acharyas mentioned that not that, Lord Brahma would become agitated like that. That, why he did not offer obeisances. Or Lord Shiva will become agitated like that. Right. But they in turn, knowing the desire for or the purpose for which Bhrigu Muni has come, they are taking a part to lead him to the Supreme Lord. That we are completely absorbed in serving the Supreme Lord. Like when Narad Muni goes to Lord Shiva, right? That you are the topmost recipient of the Lord's mercy. And Lord Shiva categorically mentions why is not the topmost recipient of the Lord's mercy.
So, Prabhuji, can we also look at it then, even atheists and Mayavadis and others are also instruments in God's Leela, Krishna's Leela. They also are playing some kind of a part by taking people away from Krishna.
The topmost atheist, yes. Like Lord Buddha himself appears as a topmost atheist. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord.
So today there are followers of Buddha who are following Buddha, like how we follow Krishna.
Yeah. But normals. So that's where some comes where ultimately, just like Shankaracharya, his followers, Advaita was. Ultimately, what instruction does he pass on to them? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam.
Bhaja Govindam.
Right. That's the instruction which he passes on to them. Finally, fools, do not waste your time in this, just worship the Supreme Lord Govinda. Otherwise, his entire, he took the role of, because so that's where we see that there's a plan, but now a common person who has a free will, and he says, I don't want to accept the Supreme Lord, I'm an atheist. He's not playing a role.
Is it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Because nothing moves without the will of Lord, not even a leaf.
Yeah, but no, but it's not. Lord does not interfere with the minute free will of the living entity. So the others whom we are talking about, like us all, we are covered. We come under the Lord's energy. Is external energy of the Supreme Lord, living energy.
Mhm.
By performing sense gratification, we cannot say, oh, no, so nothing, no, oh, I'm performing sense gratification because no, that's the Lord's wish. No, no, I'm performing sense gratification because I do not want to take shelter of the Lord. Right. Yes, it does not, the leaf cannot move without the Lord's will. And at times we have this guilty consciousness when we hanker for the sense gratification where the Lord in the form super soul says, oh, forget about this. But we do not hear that.
Mm.
And then say, oh, Lord says, okay, go ahead. Now, we can just desire. The Lord sanctions that desire. The guy who kind of led the flight, or no, the hijackers who led the flight into the World Trade Center, we cannot say, oh, there's the Lord's will. Right. So they, ultimately, they get punished. We get, we get punished for our own sins. We become responsible for the activities which we perform.
Thank you.
Anybody else has any questions, comments? Anybody else has anything to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you're there, I think.
And let's add something on the Lord's pastimes. I covered only a couple of them. Lord's pastimes, even as Lord Ramachandra, the Balya Leela or the Balya Kand is quite elaborate.
Yeah. This is our next topic on Monday, Balakand.
Good.
And then, then actually Aranyakand. Then it goes further to the, then Kishkinda Kand,
Yeah.
Kand, with Uttarakhand. It's just so wonderful. So nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we are referring to this from Bhaktivikas Swami's book, right, Ramayana?
It could be any, it could be
Yeah,
Valmiki.
it's Valmiki Ramayana, Ramacharitamanasa, Adhyatma Ramayana. It's all pretty same. Core is same, maybe a little difference here and there. The Valmiki Ramayana is the complete, the full. And, that's complete, still Uttarakhand, and it's, what is happening after 11,000 years, Lord Ram rolled the, came back from, Vanavas. Then after also Uttarakhand mentioned what happens after that. So Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, Shatrugna, and then Mother Sita. That's before actually, much time before, and then Lord alone, and then Lava and Kush. What is happening to them, and they, the entire Bharatvarsha is dividing. For Lava and Kushastali, and then there is a part, and then it's all so beautiful actually. It's mentioned how the dynasty, and that dynasty is still in various places in Kusha and Lava, that dynasty itself in various places. Yeah, I mean it's quite very wonderful.
There's so much to read and know and so little time. Sometimes it gets overwhelming. But yeah, it's nice that we're doing this and how it links. Thank you for organizing. Thank you.
It's so wonderful, right? It's when it's mercy of the Lord, first of all, that's where we need to put it. I mean, it's nothing happens, just by accident. Or by the mercy of the Lord, hearing and understanding and realizing. And just look at it today. The class and the discussion and the realization and took us to the next level of the understanding, isn't it? So it's always beneficial. It's even if we spend little time that hearing, that's a different perspective of that's pretty detail and big, rather than we just put our senses and so many other things, but we put our heart and soul and our mind and intelligence. So getting into that different realm of spiritual,
Yeah. And the glories of
Sorry.
sorry, go ahead. Someone.
No, it's okay, Prabhuji, go ahead. I just had okay.
Sorry, go ahead,
Go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Sumeshwar Prabhu, for arranging this. I just had a humble request, and if it can be done, Akhilesh Tiwari Prabhu really recites the dohas of Ramcharitramanas really well. So one of these days, either in the morning Bhagavatam or one of these sessions, can we have that? Like, it's so blissful the way he recites it. Or if somebody else can do it, like just a few dohas. I don't know what happened during from 6:30 to 7. Was it just bhajans or it was recitation of dohas? I'm not too sure because I wasn't there. I joined at 7.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion. One of these days, Proji will speak. I'm sure about that. So wait for the days.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So this
Thank you
is
so much.
It's a saptah. This is actually from beginning to end. So I think this trying to cover that, the Lord's entire, pastimes. That's what is called saptah, basically. And it's also mentioned that one who hears from the beginning to end the Ramayana, just hearing the name of Lord Ram itself is so beneficial.
So blissful. So blissful.
So blissful and benefit. And one who hears this entire the pastimes of Lord Ram, it's amazing. I mean, there is devotees, these are not just the words, these are all guaranteed. No doubt into that. It's guaranteed. And we may not know now, but we'll know when the time comes.
Yeah, I will give you the verse to reflect that from Chaitanya Charitamrita. I was just about to say. So we see that Damstri Damstra Hato Mlecho Ha Rama iti punah punaha Uktva Muktim Apnoti Ka Sraddhavan. So one who this Damstri means one who is a killer of the boar. So even he gets liberated by simply because they call boar these Muslims or the Blechas haram. So by even though they are two different words, by simply chanting haram, they are getting liberated. Haridas Thakur is speaking to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how the sinful people get liberated. Haridas Thakur is glorifying the Lord Ramchandra's name, explaining in multiple verses. So that is for them. Imagine what happens to those who are nicely chanting, nicely fixed up. So for them, this liberation is nothing. It's a doorstep. So that is the powerful, transcendental power of the holy name of Ram. So yeah. This is an Anjali chapter 3, glories of Haridas Thakur. This is explained in detail.
Okay.
Yeah, Shiveshwar Prabhu, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yeah, the today's format was very good about having some time at the end for discussion. So if you could request all the speaker that they leave some time at the end for the discussion rather than having talk all the way up to end and overtime. That's my request.
This is called Dharma Sangat. Dharma Sangat. The thing is that trying to cover and hear the pastimes and the glories and Yes, of course, wonderful discussion that can be possible. I mean, yes, 30 minutes are there. Is actually tuned that 7 to 8:30 is the class, 45 minutes, that kind of section. 30 minutes is for discussion. Is that okay?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, yeah. I mean, that's fine. But I mean, when speaker runs over time, then there is no time for discussion. I mean, I understand about Bhagavatam in the morning. That's because it's only half an hour. But even though we have a Gita class for 1 hour, I think speakers should allow some time for discussion. I mean, that's my request, and if possible, they should do it. It's a good idea to have a discussion, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Hari
good,
Bol.
good suggestions. Good. I mean, that's wonderful. I mean, that's sometimes what happens. Sometimes there is no question at all. Nobody wanted to ask any question. Nobody wanted to say anything, and then the speaker has to come back and start again the class. I mean, these are all situations there. So I mean, yes, I mean, definitely, of course, this Ramayana is so much to discuss. Yes, I mean that we can cover a lot in that perspective also. Thank you for wonderful suggestion. That's good. I mean, it's tuned like that. So 30 minutes is discussion, so that we can share and reflect. What we understood, or what needed more understanding of it. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, but weekdays, Monday onwards, probably you have 2 speakers on each day, right? Most, at least Monday to Fridays, where you have slot and you have a lot to cover in each of these. So that is the challenge. See, when Prabhupada is presenting, whether it's Bhagavad Gita, generally
Yeah,
30
yeah.
to 45 minutes used to speak
No,
and then question answer. But
one way
in
to
Ramayana,
one way to
yeah,
look at it, actually, most of the Rama Leela, Rama Katha, many of the audience know. But what we really need to that, the details of it. I mean, why it is like that, so that it can connect to the audience. That means, in the case of today, was wonderful. Like, Madhuri Prabhu was very nicely explaining about, the appearance of the Lord, right? Sankarshan was different. So the details of it, if you go a little more details on it, I mean, we can touch upon the past times, that is fine. But if you go a little deeper into it, that okay, why, Vasishta agreed of, and today was covered that. Vasishta knew that is the Supreme Lord, right? So kind of details like that, so that may more go deep and connect that, relish more realizations. Yes, of course, hearing Rama Katha, hearing the glories of Supreme Lord is very, very important. So the focus on is actually more, we can, just one verse we can talk days, Prabhuji. In Ramayana, we can take like, we know the Lal Govinda Prabhu take one verse. He speaks, maybe all day he can speak on it. But what is really that one verse is giving us, what we can connect to us, and what, this entire Leela and pastimes. So like Bali Leela, or what is, like just for an example, the Bharat and Lakshmana and Shatrugna, so much of respect to Lord Ram, so much of respect. Lakshman, even though Lakshman and Shatrugna, they were the brothers, but Lakshmana considered Lord Ram as the Supreme Lord. So these are the aspects of the Ramayana. That's really the Ramayana actually. And until the Mandara, kind of convinced Kaikeyi, until that time, how the Kausalya and then Sumitra and Kaikeyi were treating each other. It's so exemplary, so amazing. And how, Mother Sita, how Lord actually come to Trayambaka and, approaching even for the Lord knows that, and everything in every aspect of Ramayana is, every words of Ramayana is so touching and so deep
Really.
and going. So that way, Prabhuji. So that's what it is,
yeah, I understand. It's a good thing. But as I can tell you again, Ramayana is such a vast.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you look at, there is a different there is a leadership presentation. Just for each and every character, there is a leadership presentation. How the leader should act by looking at, and there is a life lessons presentation. So there are so many types of presentation for each and every character of Ramayana.
Yeah,
So Vilas Prabhu speaks, he present differently. Gaurang Prabhu speaks differently.
yes.
So you can go on just for one character, and imagine you have one kanda. In that you have multiple characters. Even if you take the gist essence of it, try to pin it together, and that will itself will take time. We'll try to do
Yeah,
our justice.
whatever we can, within the time limit,
Yeah.
whatever we can.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
my suggestion would be, instead of covering their entire Kand, cover some aspect of it.
Points. Hmm. Agreed.
Otherwise, it's too deep. Just like Lal going this Kewat.
Yeah.
He took one entire day to talk about Kewat. His
Yeah.
pastime. It's such a deep, how, who he was in his previous life. That he got the mercy of the Supreme Lord.
Prabhuji, I am guilty of going over time always, but I promise that I get the point. Jaiprakash Prabhu and Mataji made a good point. So I'm following your footsteps, Madhupati Prabhu. You always finish your class in half an hour, 40 minutes, and leave a lot of time. And I think that's even Jayadvaita Maharaj's style. Maharaj prefers discussions and QA. So yes, this becomes a testing ground. And I was thinking the same thing what you said, take salient points and talk about that and what Simeshwar Prabhu and Krishnanand Prabhu have said to link it. Sorry, I'll try my best. Thank you.
I think it's all different perspective of it, and the
Prabhu, my mother has told me the same thing to bahut baat karte hai. She's saying everything is nice, but keep it short and leave question answers.
Now, since we are talking about time, I think time has come for us to.
Time has come.
Yes.
8:59, 1 minute left. Okay.
Yeah.
9 o'clock. Okay.
Wonderful.
Ending time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful.
Kalpatarubhayascha.
Kripa Sindhu.
Sindhu
Patitanam.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Vaishnavrinda ki
So
jai.
the announcement tomorrow morning is Holiness Janananda Goswami Maharaj speaking. I think the same topic, Rama Katha, and also evening.
Devamrita Maharaj.
Devamrita Maharaj.
TBC. Yeah.
It's also Rama Katha. So this is the sections of it. And then also we have Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday we have festival. So we'll see how we can coordinate that as well. So it's again taking the Abhishek, becoming part of the Lord's Abhishek, becoming part of the Lord's festival, and celebrating. It's like Ayodhya Vasis. This is inviting others and becoming part of this. All part of this Leela of the Lord. Don't take it as a different thing. It's all Leela of the Lord. So be part of it, whichever way you can. So this way is direct association of the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, Madhupati Prabhu.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Madhupati
Hare
Prabhu. Let's say Hari
Krishna.
Bol
Thank
to
you.
Madhupati Prabhu also.
Haribol, Haribol.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Homage to Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Wonderful
Madhupati
discussion.
Prabhuji. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
Jaiprakash Prabhu, have a
Nice
blissful
discussion.
Mangalarti tomorrow.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Have a blissful Mangalarti tomorrow.
Haribol. Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Alright.
I think
Haribo. Hare Krishna.
already, awake. Thank you. Okay, let's conclude. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.